Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you so much for downloading or streaming the Be Our Guest podcast. Yes, we are back and answering your listener questions. So glad to be here in the studio. We get some great questions today about hidden gems not to miss for a 10-night Southern Caribbean sailing on the Disney Fantasy. I just happen to be on that ship, so I have lots to say about that. Also, whether to get a meal before Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party or just a snack throughout the party, what would you do? Also, how about listening to other Disney podcasts? Do we listen to others? We have that discussion on today's show. And we have a great app for listening to or watching sporting events in the lounges around Walt Disney World, where you can use your smartphone to hear the audio when there's no audio playing on the TVs. This and much more coming your way on today's show. Don't forget our podcast brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure for no additional cost to you and concierge level service each and every time. Check out all the details right now over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And a sincere thank you to the patrons of the Be Our Guest podcast. You make all these shows possible. I cannot thank you enough for that. You can also support us just $5 a month, and you'll get our bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. So coming over this week, we'd love to have you. Patreon.com/Be Our Guest podcast.
Ready to take a trip to the world? You found the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. This is where your memories come front and center on our podcast stage.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to episode number 2522 of the Be Our Guest podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. We're going to pretend like this isn't take number 3 and I have not been out of the studios for the last week and a half. Glad you're here today. It's time to answer your listener questions, and we're going to have a great time today because the crew is back. We're so glad to have them. Scott back in the country for the first time, and it feels like a month. Ricky is back with us as well. So we have a great team assembled to answer your listener questions. And we record these shows around 5:30 Eastern on Monday. So if you want to ever join us live, we have lots of places you can tune in live: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or Twitch. So just kick off your week the right way that Monday after work. Come on over, join us. We have a good time recording live, 2 shows back to back. And we'd love to have you be a part of our recordings as we get on with the shows. And that's what we're going to do right now. So joining us from the mouseforless.com and a DisneyWorldAfterAll.com, we have Ricky. Ricky, what's going on? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. And I'm back from Walt Disney World too. So, all 3 of us have been traveling. And I just want to put out the PSA because it is very hot in Florida. And I know that everybody knows it's very hot in Florida. It's summer, right? Duh. But I would like to put the PSA out there that you need to make sure that you are hydrating, getting everything that you need, because I was about this close and my fingers are like really, really tightly together from passing out from the heat exhaustion while I was in line for Tiana's. So, I was definitely blacking out. My hearing was muffled. I was going down. So just a heads up. It happened in 3 minutes. So I went from feeling completely fine to almost completely, being on the ground in 3 minutes time. So make sure you have water, snacks, everything that you could possibly need. A fan is what saved me hugely. And a cast member was so great. His name was Gio. He helped me out as well. So I just want to say, you definitely need to make sure that you take huge caution. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. So I didn't even think it wasn't even supposed to be that hot out, but it is deceptive. It will hit you quick. And it is the first time I've ever almost passed out from heat, and it is incredibly scary if you've never been through it. So you just know something's wrong. I just need to sit down is what I just kept telling people. And they're like, well, you can't sit here. You have to go there. And I was like, nope, not going to make it. So just know that the heat is no joke right now. So just heads up.
And it's hot everywhere around the country, so take that for everywhere you are. And Patrick Ralph, who's tuned in live over on YouTube, says, if you ever get heat exhaustion, go on the Tomorrowland Speedway. That is absolutely the wrong thing.
I'm not going to be doing
because
that.
Here's the thing. The one time I almost passed out in the Magic Kingdom, it was the night before our very first podcast cruise. I was in line for the Tomorrowland Speedway. And it was a super humid, sticky night after eating too much over at Whispering Canyon. Yep. I downed one of those gallon bucket of sodas because they brought me the bucket soda, and I was trying to be a tough guy and drink the whole thing. Went over to the Magic Kingdom, tried to close out the night. Super sticky, super humid, super hot, super stupid. I was just kept, again, I was in line, just breathing in all the fumes, then got on the cars, got overheated. My moral of the story, my wife had to roll me out all the way back to the Wilderness Lodge to our car in a wheelchair. And then the next day I had to go on our first ever podcast cruise. And they ask you, have you been sick in the last 24 hours? Absolutely not, because we had 120 people sailing with us. It was the craziest story ever. So yes, be careful of the heat. Do not go around those cars because you breathe in the fumes.
They asked me, they're like, are you okay? And I was like, no. At that point, I was finally like, no.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you need medical attention? And I said, I finally gave in and was like, yes. And they're like, well, we'll have to call you an ambulance. And I'm like, no, I don't need an ambulance. Let's just give me a minute. Just
get me out of this line. Let's go.
No ambulances.
All right. Scotty G's joining us. He is back from back-to-back Anthem of the Seas cruises over in Norway, where he checked in on Anna and Elsa, I'm sure, saw the fjords, but most importantly, destroyed all kinds of Sorrento's pizza. And if you know, you know. My brother from another mother, glad to have him back in almost in my time zone. He's only one away right now because it was a little hairy there when he was like 8 time zones away. I was worried. It was really tough to communicate. Scotty G, glad to have you back in the fold. What's going on, brother?
Happy to be back. Ricky, that's a scary moment for sure. I saw you make that announcement, so it's a good PSA for sure.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to bring some humor, so I'm going to say I almost passed out too because I went 2 hours without Sorrento's pizza.
Oh my God.
My body needs it. But,
yes, I get it.
In all seriousness, though, yeah, you got to definitely be careful out there. Sometimes you can overhydrate too, so
that's true. Yes.
Be careful of that as well because that is a serious thing too. But yeah, listener questions, baby. I had to knock off some rust. It's been a minute since I've done this, so I'm excited. So, Mike, let's fire away. Let's answer some questions.
Here's the thing. I mean, people are coming in hot with Adventures by Disney questions and international park questions. I mean, you're not giving us softballs right off the bat. So easy here. Tanja says on Facebook, one of our great friends down in Tennessee, one of our Run Disney Lizards, one of my great friends, love Tanja. She says, what would you do non-Disney port of call in Hong Kong for 17 hours? I could easily go to the park for the entire day and get back to the ship easily. Would you tour Hong Kong or go to Disneyland? I'm planning all of our excursions for this trip, and this was my non-Disney loving husband's idea. So this is what would you do? Would you tour Hong Kong or go to Disney? I mean, you're talking to Disney fans though, right? But I mean, I always say happy wife, happy life, but this is kind of the opposite here. It's husband's idea. You're in Hong Kong. I mean, this is like, I don't know if there's a right answer here, right? I mean, what would you do?
I'm touring the city because I don't know if you're going to get it depends on if you're going to go back again, right? I don't think you're going to get that full Disney experience. And a question I would have too is like, as someone that just did like a crazy long excursion, like not quite 17 hours, but like how long is it going to take you to get to that destination? Is Hong Kong Disney like further away from the ship, so that adds like another hour to your excursion time, like riding a bus or whatever? I would try to do the thing that is that is the closest to the port, so I can maximize my time in doing whatever that destination is.
Yeah, I would tend to say I would like to see the culture of the city more than Disneyland. And I hate to say that as a Disney fan, but the thing is, as much as I would like to see the international Disneyland park over there, like, what are the opportunities that you're going to have in a lifetime to get to experience the authentic culture of a place like Hong Kong, right? I mean, I don't know what your situation is, but I know if I was there, I'm probably never, ever going back. And with Disneyland, that park, I'm going to have a lot of similar experiences, which I would really appreciate, right? I'd like to see the different versions of this and that and the castle and stuff like that. And that would be truly authentic, or truly appreciated by me. But to see the authenticity of what the culture has, I mean, with just only like that 17 hours, I just want to see what the city has to see, like I'd want to see the authenticity, the real Hong Kong, I think. But I mean, I'd love to see both. But I know you don't get that opportunity. Ricky, what would you do?
I mean, you are talking to a Disney fan who, I mean, I would choose Hong Kong Disneyland, but that's just me. I as a Disney fan, I would want to get that knocked off the bucket list. I mean, that's on my bucket list for sure. And so that's what I would want to do. But if your significant other is not necessarily a Disney fan, that makes it a little more difficult. Just because, like, you are over in Hong Kong and it is kind of I assume kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. So, I would have that conversation with my significant other and be like, hey, so, we're going and, to do this part of our vacation and it's not Disney related, but do you mind if we swing over to, Hong Kong Disneyland? I know. I mean, it's hard because Brian is, he's so supportive of all of this. So like, he would be the one who's like, let's go to Hong Kong Disneyland. So it's a little bit more difficult for me to make the answer, because I would choose Hong Kong Disneyland every time. I think, I would be like, ooh, I can see parts of Hong Kong on the way there, and then I could get to Disneyland. So that's where I sit. So it's probably not the best answer because it's the Disney answer, but that's what I would do.
I think I've heard that airport in Hong Kong is like one of the coolest things ever to see. Now, I don't think they're going into the airport, but I've heard that's like amazing. I think that's in Hong Kong, but I'm an airport guy. Okay, Thomas Perk, our good friend, who's co-hosted here on the podcast, Support to Give Kids the World. We love Thomas. Says, question. Best place to read Dick Nunes' book, Walt's Apprentice, while on board the Wish. We can all give an opinion because we've been on the ships. So we have places on the Disney Cruise Line ships that are great. Here's a great place. I'm going to give you one that's on all the ships. Early morning, Cove Cafe.
Ooh, yeah.
That was my answer, Mike.
That's
Boom,
a good
boom.
call.
I'm just telling you, it's a great place to read. Coffee, a little Danish, or whatever.
I like that.
One of your free little treats out of the case. That's where I'd read. But where else? I mean, give them another option besides that. Somebody. What do you think?
So my answer, which you just took, I had to quick think of another one. So on the Wish, you have this great restaurant called 1923 that is kind of like themed to Disney and Walt. Go there over lunchtime. It's quieter at lunch. A lot of people will explore and do like the cabanas and whatnot and do all those other things. My daughter always takes a book to lunch.
Oh, really?
On a sea day.
I love it.
Like it's usually when we go to Apollo brunch. So
Got
that's kind of like her thing. So she'll go to table servers and she'll take her book and just read. And it's like so relaxing for her. So that's kind of where I got this idea from Emily, actually. So that's what I would do. And 1923 is a spot that you go to for lunch. So that's what I would recommend.
Emily is amazing.
She is.
I love her so much. That's awesome. That's totally something I would do.
Our kids are like outpacing us because like Mallory took way better pictures on the cruise than I did. And it's like, when did this happen? Like the kids have now exceeded us, which is cool. But I'm like, dang, whatever. Stop.
I think
go ahead, Ricky.
For me, I think that, I mean, if you don't want to go for the rainforest room and the whole area outside, which is kind of where, like, that's where I did all my reading, was by the rainforest room, because they had like the most amazing loungers out there, and they had, you can do it in the hot tub a little bit as long as you don't, mind maybe getting your book a little wet, or whatever. There were these great big chairs that were on the upper decks, and that's where I would do it. Like it was like a 2, 3, 4 person chair, depending on how many people are in your family and how many people you wanted to cram into a chair. And they were just so peaceful, and I loved them so much. So I think if you're not going to do the rainforest room, I would suggest that.
Sounds good. Here's one other thing we discovered too, that some people that were smart, we never got in there, but like a great use of the buffet. So Cabanas is open for breakfast and lunch, but it's not open for dinner, right? Because you have rotational dining on the ships, on the Disney Cruise Line ships.
I thought you
I
said
think it's open. Yeah.
for dinner.
Yeah, I
It is
think
not
you
open
could-
for dinner. It
Oh,
is
wow.
not.
Okay.
It is not on the
all
Fantasy.
the other ships are. I know that.
It is not.
They-
It is not.
I've definitely heard that the other ships are open for dinner. For
Okay.
yeah, I've definitely heard that. So it's like they bring food to you. But
Room service is open for dinner, but Cabanas, the buffet is not open for dinner on the Disney Cruise Line ships.
Okay.
But here's what I say. My tip is, since it is not open for dinner, it's open for breakfast and lunch. Is that it is a quiet place to go, like after lunch ends in the late afternoon and in the evenings, because the tables are open and people go up there and play cards and play like board games and just hang out and read a book, because like it's a huge open area and there's great seating that looks out over the waters. And we saw people doing this, like playing Uno as a family. And because it's air conditioned, it's cool. It's chill. And the thing is, like in the mornings for like breakfast, it's chaos in there, right? Everybody's trying to get their eggs and their bacon and their sausage. It's wild. It's fine, but it's just like, it's such a cool, chill area. If you go, even like at 10 o'clock at night, like it's a great place to go. There's not a person in Cabanas or whatever they have on the other ships. Was it Marceline Market on the Wish? But you can go in there when they're not serving, and it's a great place to just chill with a book. And
So quiet in there.
Yeah, because
Oh my
chairs aren't
God.
that bad, and there's a great view. It's like going to Meridian, and Meridian's a lot nicer. It's a bar, but it's a deck down. You can just, nobody's in there. The people were doing that on our cruise a lot, like families. So they were like playing Uno and stuff. So that was kind of fun. Let's see here. Simon from over in the UK has a question. Hey, BOG crew, what's your pick? Go for an early pre-Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party meal, or snack the party treats. Cheers, Simon over in Great Britain. So have a big meal before the party or snack the party. Dude, snack, right?
The party is just candy. So I'm gonna go with, there's a few other things obviously that they bring out, because Disney always has like specialty treats and things like that. But I feel like usually they still steer a little more towards the sweet than the savory. So I'm going to say grab yourself some food first before maybe.
Oh, you say go. I thought you were going to snack. You're going to say get a meal before?
I'm going to say grab food, because
I gave you the bell.
We usually grab food before, because I wouldn't want to like fill up on, just sugar the whole night. Like, I would fill up on it after I ate a meal. But I would make sure that I had a meal in me at first. So I'm going to say eat first.
Well, Scott's nodding. What do you say, Scotty G?
I think I've gone to the Halloween party 7 or 8 times, and I have always had a 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock dinner before I entered the park, and I do not eat at the party. I always eat beforehand.
Do you snack
so what are you thinking? You thinking something like Kona or like something in that area? Like
I always do a Grand Floridian. I'm not Grand Floridian. I always do a monorail resort.
Yeah.
Normally Grand Floridian Cafe.
Grand Floridian, I was going to say the same thing. We've done Grand Floridian Cafe a lot.
But I will say, to Ricky's point, I have like snacked a little bit. I remember one year, like our group, they had this like sweet corn like dessert. It looked like a corn on the cob, but it was like a cake or something. Like it like really messed with your mind as you're like cutting it. But it was good. So some of those specialty treats are good, but like the problem is like the restaurants close early. Not even all the counter service restaurants are open. So I'm always the safe bet where I'm going to eat at like, I know it opens till 4 to guess, and the party starts at like 7, but we go eat dinner like around 5 o'clock and then take a boat over or whatnot. And then don't worry about eating dinner, and maybe we'll snack like a couple times, but not much.
That's totally sensible. And that's actually what Tanja's saying, and like other people in the chat. So that is a sensible answer. But for some reason, I'm thinking what I might do is go for the snack. Like I would go with like Casey's Corner corn dog nuggets. Like, because those are, you can mobile order those during the party.
Food.
Those are food. Those are like a meal. Yeah. And like roll with that. And then when you get a little, because you gotta have meat, you gotta have protein, right? But then you could snack sweet stuff and then maybe roll up to, because you're right. Late in the party, there's nothing open.
It's
like
Casey's is the only thing that's open at the party.
You're right. You got to be careful. Late in the party, you could be in trouble because a lot of
maybe
places
Cosmic
close.
Rays. I don't know.
I think Cosmic Rays is open as well.
That could be your only option. So then you might have to get like a chicken sandwich.
Because they take a lot of those places and turn them into trick or treat stands.
They do.
Or dance parties. So. Yeah. So you got to watch it. But you do. But I would like. That's what I'd probably do. Like corn dog nuggets. and maybe a chili. I mean, I'd be eating terrible. Like, you wouldn't want to be around me, but
Simon, I like the 4 p.m. meal because the thing is, you don't want to spend your time in the party like
exactly
eating. You want to be exploring, doing all the other stuff, unless there's like a specialty item that draws to you, but then do a couple of those, but not like your main meal for sure. Do all three, he says.
Yes, just eat it all. All right, we have a question here. It says, let's see, this is from Andrew out in Utah in the inbox. Hey, Mike, hope you're having an awesome trip. It's been fun seeing your pictures on the Discord. Looks like you're having a blast. Well deserved. Here's my question. I noticed on a recent show that you referenced Len Testa. I got a couple of questions, so this is a two-part question. Although BOGP is by far my favorite Disney Parks podcast by a mile, I also listen to some others, including the Disney Dish with Len Testa and Jim Hill. Do you listen to other Disney Parks podcasts? And if so, which ones do you listen to? If you don't mind giving a plug for your competition. I'll be honest, I don't listen to any other Disney podcasts at this point. I listen to tech podcasts and retro gaming podcasts, but that's it.
Nerd. I'm just joking.
I know. I listen to one called The Retroist. I listen to a couple of running podcasts, and I listen to This Week in Tech. Their podcasts. One's called Mac Break Weekly. One's called This Week in Tech. Comes out on Sundays. And some sports podcasts, and that's about it. And I listen to live radio. That's about it. I used to listen to a ton of Disney podcasts, but I just I've kind of gone to just the old ones. Kind of like I used to be. WDW Today was my jam, like back in the day, and it's gone. All right, and it's just I listen to some here and there, but I just don't listen to a bunch regularly. It's kind of my tastes have kind of changed. So that's kind of where I am. Ricky, what about you? I'll ask you guys.
I'm kind of the same, actually. I really stopped listening to podcasts a lot. I mostly listen to the radio at home now. But I will say, actually on the trip down to Florida, that, hey, let's put on a podcast. So, the podcast we asked for was Jim Hill and Len, so the Disney Dish. But of course, I'll always, put out the plug out there for Matt and the 3028 because, they do a good job as well. So, but yeah, I really kind of stopped listening to podcasts a lot just because I just really started listening to the radio more and more and more, and it just started infiltrating my system. So I go on phases. I'll go on a radio phase, and then I'll go on a podcast phase, and then I'll go on a radio phase. And so right now I'm on my radio one right now.
No, let me say, I listen to 5 hours of podcasts a day. I am all in on podcasts, but it's like right now I've just been like into tech and retro. It's weird because the stuff I listen to, I like stuff that is a dude in his basement, like kind of stuff. Besides the This Week in Tech network, which is very like polished, but I mean, the weird thing is, here's the weird thing about that network real quick. They have gone from like $1 million studio because they're losing a lot of their sponsors to like people that are produced on Spotify and stuff. And like, they have had this huge studio, which they've kind of gone way over their budget. They're moving out of their studio, and the guy's going to start doing the show from his house, and they're going to use StreamYard, which is what we use. So he's taken this huge step backwards to do exactly what we're doing. And they're excited because in the coming weeks, they're going to be able to broadcast not just on YouTube, but on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Twitch.
Yep.
That's what we do. So we're gonna be like on equal par with them, but they've been doing this like for years and years because he was a cable TV guy when he started. So he's like my dad's age, and I used to watch him on cable TV like back when I was in college. That's how long this guy's been going. Leo Laporte. He's kind of like my podcasting guru guy. So that's where I am. I like tech and I like retro stuff, like hearing about old like 80s TV shows and music and stuff like that. I mean, it's just my jam because I think the reason I don't listen to so much Disney stuff anymore is that I do it for a living. Right. It's like when I wasn't a travel agent, I listened to like 50 Disney podcasts because it was something that I wasn't doing 24/7. But when you do it all day, and like when you produce 5 shows a week, you can only have so much Disney like to listen to, because I'm producing it. I'm working with Disney on the phones when I'm not doing the shows. And so I think that's where I am. Scott, what about you? What do you think?
Yes, I feel like Disney podcasts have just like gone downhill a little bit. Like some of my old favorites are just like they just don't have like that same vibe that they used to have. And there's so many of them too, is the thing. So you hear a lot of the same content over and over again. Outside of the Be Our Guest podcast, because we're
Right.
unique.
We
and we're
try as
awesome.
hard as we
We're
can
totally
to be as
unique.
good as
But
we can. Yeah.
I will say there are a couple that I still like, and I'm bad about listening to podcasts. I have so many. I had to delete a bunch because I was running out of storage on my phone.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I got to delete these and I'll get them back to them whenever. But our friend Mike at Radio Harambe, I really love what they do. Like, I'm a big Animal Kingdom guy, so shout out to Safari Mike. I love their podcast.
They do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around for a long time. Love him on all the social media too, so that's a good one. And not as very popular. I know he doesn't have a lot of followers, but Mike, you know our friend Scotty Boy. He does like it's called The Stuff We Love.
Yes.
So he loves Disney, so we'll talk about that. But then he talks about a whole lot of other things too, like Taylor Swift. I've been on a bunch of times to talk about the Beatles because that's something I'm very passionate about. So he talks about other things that he loves, but he will talk about the theme parks and Hollywood Horror Nights and things like that. So those are the two I'll add.
Cool. Annie, a second question. Do you often run into other Disney parks podcasters as you visit the parks or press events in general? How is the interaction typically? I'm guessing you're closer to some than others, but I would think it would overall be a generally friendly and supportive group of people. Thanks, Mike. Enjoy the rest of your trip and safe travels home. Andrew in Utah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to a whole lot of press events lately, but everybody's super kind, super friendly. It's more just like in passing because everybody's kind of doing their thing. And again, you know, you just say, hey, and you'll see you at the next one, and everybody's kind of covering their thing and getting in and out. So it's it's a friendly thing. So appreciate the question. And let's get to, a question about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party from Austin out in Cleveland. He says, hey, Mike, hope you enjoyed your Disney cruise. Not sure if you'd remember, but I actually called in 2 years ago during a live show to talk about my bros trip to Walt Disney World with my work friends. It was awesome to talk to you and Scotty G. Anyways, me and my work friends decided to run back another trip to Walt Disney World next month. It was their idea too. We wanted to try something new, so we purchased tickets to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at the Magic Kingdom for Friday, August 23rd. I've never attended an after hours / special event like this before, and I have no idea how to strategize for the night, what rides to capitalize on, how to navigate Tron, etc. I'm considered the Disney guide for the group, so I'd love some tips for the BOGP crew that will help make this an awesome night for everyone. Thanks again, Austin in Cleveland. All right, Ricky, lay down some 411 from Austin because he is the Disney guide for the group, and he's got to make it happen for the crew.
I see that. Well, the good thing is on the Mouse for Less, we actually have a guide for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and it kind of helps break down which parts of the party you should do when. So it kind of tells you like, okay, this tends to be the more crowded time to do this X, Y, and Z. So you want to swap it out and do this then and this then. And, you know, it really is, we really have it broken down very successfully based off of many trips to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party by myself. So, you know, I've definitely broken this down myself and have a good plan in place. I will say there are two things that throw this year off a little bit, just because we don't know how it's going to go. And those two things are Tiana's as well as Tron. Both of these attractions are now not going to have Lightning Lane for the party. They're not going to have virtual queue for the party, but they are supposedly supposed to have a standby line. So with that being said, not quite sure how those two things are going to impact waits for the wait times. For Tron, we have no idea how those are going to be because it's really been on Lightning Lane / virtual queue the whole entire time. Tiana's, you know, we have a little bit of an idea because, you know, it was Splash Mountain before. So, you know, it did have pretty good waits. I'd say about 30 minutes or so, 45 minutes usually for the nights of the parties. So I expect that that'll probably have about the same kind of wait for Tiana's. But we have no idea about how Tron's going to go. One thing I did notice about Tron, I actually was able to get a virtual queue. I got virtual queues for both Tiana's and Tron. What is this? That was so bizarre to me because I'm like, how did this happen? Because I usually get just poor luck with the virtual queue. But I got Tron, and one thing I did notice this time, I've only done Tron twice, but they were not doing the pre-show for Tron, so they kind of just let people keep walking. And Tron is a slow loader for me a little bit, so it did help a lot though that they skipped the pre-show. and I suspect that they're probably going to keep skipping the pre-show as we move forward. So yeah, hopefully that will help the line move a little bit better for Tron. Again, once we got past the pre-show and everything, though, I did seem to take a little bit of time. So just kind of a heads up with that. But actually, I think it was like the locker area. Once you got past that, it was a little bit better. But that's the biggest question mark for me, is how those two attractions are going to impact wait times at the park, as well as your ability to, if you did want to wait for those two attractions, do other things at the party.
So let me ask you this, Scott. So I'm a fan that during a hard ticket event, we kind of talked about this on Sunday night too, which you'll hear tomorrow, because I think we had a question about this kind of related on the call in.
It was Simon. Yeah, Simon.
It was Simon. You know, at the very end, before he had to go, when the baby woke up. That was so awesome. When you listen tomorrow, it's awesome. Also, man, talk about a cold ending. Scott,
the best part,
it was also like 4 a.m. for the guy. Yeah, go ahead.
The best part, we didn't address the comment, and then he's like, "Oh, Sid found out what the England score was, so he woke up crying."
Oh no! Oh no! It's terrible. Anyway, but here's the thing, like. Scott, do you like the idea that these virtual queue attractions turn into standby queues during a hard ticket? I kind of like that, because I just think it's old school. Like, you just want to ride something. It's no thinking. Like, I want to ride Tiana's, get in line. You want to ride Tron, get in line.
As someone that can't ever get virtual queues, I'm a big fan of it, because it's just, if you want to do it, then you can just do it.
Exactly.
What I was going to say for Austin, though, like, I know this is like the bros trip, right? So he's running it back. I think that was the word
I like that. Yeah.
So I know bros, so I'm figuring like these, like, I don't know, these 20 something guys, like, I don't know their ages or not, but they're probably going to think like, oh, parades. Like, I don't want to watch a parade, because I want to hang out with the guys who want to do all the rides and all that. But I will tell you, you have to make time for that parade. If you guys are going to the Not So Scary Halloween party, you might not be on your radar right now, but you have to do the parade. And I'd recommend the second one. Now, sometimes weather might impact one of the parades or not, so you would take a chance if you skip the first one and then it's rainy later in the night and they don't do the second one. But do the second one. There'll be less people trying to watch, and then you can do all the attractions during the first parade and things like that. But you got to do the parade with the bros.
Agreed.
And I would say definitely, I mean, he probably knows this, but be there at 4:00, get your money's worth, get in there early. Like we talked about, maybe grab the dinner before to Monorail Resort, get in and get going. And also, Carolyn, our great listener is out on the West Coast who, takes care of our Disneyland suggestions many times, but she has great, prioritize. Is it going to be important to do the Halloween, grab the candy? Maybe do that late, because they tend to just scoop the candy in late in the party. Like, and you don't want to carry the candy around the whole night too. A lot of people don't think about this. If you try to we're going to trick or treat and get our candy, at 7:00, then you're hauling that candy around for 5 hours and it's melting. You know what I'm saying? Grab the candy at 10:30, 11:00. They're going to be scooping it in and just take it home with you. That's just practical advice. I mean, Scott, have you thought about things like that?
Let me ask you just one more thing for Austin. A Halloween party, costumes. So I have your suggestion right here. Austin, you're a Gaston, and the rest of your bros are the rest of the Gaston's crew. Since you're the guy that's setting up all the plans, you got to be the ringleader. So you are Gaston. You're going to have LeFou and the rest of the villagers from Beauty and the Beast be the rest of your crew right there. You guys are going to win the party. I'm just
saying. Dude, that'd be awesome. I do love that. That'd be so cool. But don't wear something that's going to be hot. Dude, you're going in August. That could be lethal.
Right.
That's okay.
Very hot.
I know you heard Ricky's story at the beginning, but that's okay,
God.
man. You can make that sacrifice to be full-on Gaston. I'm just saying, Austin. You can do it.
Dude, I'm just saying, do it, but with caution. Don't blame us. Dude, if you end up a cautionary tale, don't come back and yell at us, because it's cool, but I mean, at your own risk. All right, actually, we have feedback from TJ Frey, one of our lizards.
Oh, I like TJ.
Dude, he's got a great idea for one of our questions from a couple weeks ago. And timely. We're getting this one in before the Olympics actually start, which is great. He says, "Hey, Mike, back from our trip. We had a great time. Thanks again for booking it for us. Appreciate that. I'm catching up on the episodes I missed. On the July 3rd listener question show, Brad had a question about watching the Olympics opening ceremonies. Remember that? One of our concerns that y'all noted was hearing the audio. He says, I have a potential solution for him. There's an app called, and I believe it's Tunity. So it's Tunity, which will allow you to scan a TV set and then stream the audio through your phone. I used it when I was traveling for work and it worked really well. Please pass this tip along to Brad. And I've heard this. It's great for airports. Like if airports have on, a lot of airports will tend, like lounges will have on, the TVs, but no audio. And I've heard on tech podcasts, again, getting back to the question a minute ago, that if you have this app, you just, I don't know how it exactly works, but I've heard about it. I've never used it. But apparently you like sync it up to whatever TV, and then you just, boom, you can just plug your headphones in and hear the audio for whatever TV showing. So there you go. You can get the audio. So there you go. Tunity. T-U-N-I-T-Y.
I never heard of that. I love that.
Me neither. That's awesome.
Yeah. Download it today. I don't know if it costs anything, but hey, TJ, you rock. Thanks for helping a bro out. There you go. Brad, go Yankees, and there's your solution. All right, we have a question from the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. Our friends over there, hope you guys are doing well. And they say, hey, 3 of my favorite podcasters, you guys are too. They're living the life down in Florida. So they're living it well. Hope you're well. Where's my optimal resort stay for the wine and dine? This is Amy and Dana, by the way, down in Florida. Good to see you guys. So if you had one resort for wine and dine, why would it be Old Key West?
Stealing my answer.
Dude, that's why we're bros, man. I'm telling you, I was just there. That one bedroom was so sweet. I wish we could have stayed there for a week. I would have gone on the cruise, but that one bedroom was so sweet at Old Key West. I could have stayed there for a month. But you're right there. I would stay at Old Key West if I could swing it. That'd be.
4 years ago, my answer would have been different. It would have been a monorail resort because that's where the race started at the TTC. So you could actually just if you stayed at the Polynesian, you could just walk to the corrals, which is really, really nice. But now they started at Epcot for all the races. So I got to go with my traditional one. And I hate saying this answer, but I'm not registered for any Run Disney races anytime soon. So I'm okay saying it. You got to stay somewhere on the Sasagula. That is, I do not stay anywhere else for a Run Disney race because when you are done with your race, you hop on your bus, and I swear your bus is basically parked in Old Key West. It is the shortest bus ride back because you're on this back road. Like that's kind of where they house the buses, and you get in, and then you take 2 turns, and they're really quick turns, like on overpass lane, backstage lane. Boom, you're right there. So I always stay at Old Key West for any Run Disney event or the Port Orleans resorts if I don't have enough points.
And that's what Rhonda Lee's saying up in Nova Scotia. She says French Quarter, small resort. We talked about this on Sunday night. They take care of the runners. Like for some reason, they celebrate the holidays. They celebrate the Run Disney events. They have a great special events coordinator team there. They do.
I just love the short bus ride back. Like I don't want to be done. I want to be done with the race. I want to get back and shower, and you don't run into any traffic either. All the traffic is cleared for you. Like if you're trying to go to anywhere else on property, you're going to have a heck of a long bus ride, but never to Old Key West. I promise you.
And after the race, they drop you off and you get the opportunity to eat beignets at your resort. That might be at Old Key West right there. Ricky, I think I might have just sold the beignets. When they drop you off, beignets are within steps.
Well, I do that. I always take my medal.
Your medal pictures.
Beignets after every race because I do a medal pics
so
with them
good.
every time.
I've done that too.
You guys are selling me on, Port Orleans. I'm here for it. Let's go with beignets.
Almost there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go with the beignets. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think we're there. I think we're there. Shout out to Lisa in the chat. Hey. All right, we have one last question here from Julie. Hey, Mike and the gang at the BOGP crew. I'll be on the 10-night Southern Caribbean cruise on the Fantasy at the end of July. Oh my gosh, that would be so great. 10 nights. What is a hidden gem or something not to be missed on the ship? It has been several years since my family has sailed on the Fantasy, and I thought you might have some good info to pass along right after your recent trip. Thanks so much for the show. Julie's out in Virginia. All right, so we've all sailed on the Disney Cruise Line ships, and they're all similar. 10 nights on this, man. 7 nights I've kept saying before the cruise. Oh, I love it. It's going to be a nice long cruise. God, it went in a blank. Oh, too short. 10 nights would be sweet. And Southern Caribbean, I'm all about because I've done Western and Eastern. Got to do Southern now. Ricky, what's something on a Disney Cruise Line ship that's kind of a hidden gem they might have to do because they have 10 nights on the Fantasy?
Oh, man. I think, you got to do deck 4. I think you got to You know, we were talking about getting a
Correct.
good book and reading, you know, like that's another good place. I mean, it's not on the Wish necessarily, but it's
No,
on
there's
the
still
fantasy.
there's deck 4 on the fantasy.
Yeah,
She's on the
see.
fantasy and deck 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Trust
saying.
me,
Yeah.
it's there. I
It's
did it
I know
last
it's on
week.
deck 4.
Yes.
Deck 4 is on the fantasy. So I'm gonna say go grab a book or a drink, or in my case it would be a coffee because I'm nuts and drink like 100-degree day I'll drink a hot coffee. So I would grab that and just relax and hang out there, and that would be the best thing ever. So I'm gonna say deck 4. That's my secret.
Okay. Scotty G, so cruising in general, you guys just did 14 nights on a ship. I mean, in cruising, a lot of the stuff is kind of the Venn diagrams similar, Royal Caribbean, Disney Cruise Line. You've been on the Disney Cruise Line ship, so give her some ideas. What do you think?
I've been on the Disney Cruise Line for sure. But this is kind of like a general answer for any cruise that it doesn't matter what ship you're on, you have to do this. And so I lean more towards Mike in this, where I'm talking about sleeping schedules right now. So Mike wakes up so early because he wants to beat all the runners, to the treadmills, where Ricky will sleep in for a while.
Yes.
I know. So depending on where you are, like with your sleep schedule, I do recommend at least, because you're on there for 10 nights, like take a morning to wake up super early and just beat the crowd up on the top of the ship and just watch a sunrise. That is like one of my favorite things to do. You're definitely going to catch some sunsets on this ship, because like everyone's usually awake by then, but not everyone's always awake for those early, depending on because you're going to be there in the summer. So those sunrises are going to be early in the day. So take the time to just set an alarm, wake up early, and make sure you're there for a sunrise. And that is just like one of the most relaxing things. And then take a nap later in the day.
Absolutely. I mean, that you can nap 100 places on that ship. Satellite up in the Satellite Falls area, and deck 13 forward. You can sleep on deck 4. I mean, you can sleep wherever you want. Here's one little sleeper thing that I enjoyed a lot on the fantasy specifically. We had lunch one day in O'Gills. So instead of going to like the Cabanas or going to the sit down restaurant, we made a lunch because they serve food in O'Gills. I don't know if you know that, it's the Irish pub down in Europa, the adult area, but it's open for everybody until the night. And they have a menu of they serve this pretzel with like beer dip and cheese and salt. And they have wings of like 5 different flavors of wings. They have chips, queso, and guacamole. They have all kinds of like apps and beers and stuff. So we just ordered like one of everything one day and just did it up in O'Gills for lunch. It was like like your corner bar, and we just had all the bar food, and it was like the bomb. And I mean, it costs a little extra. You got to pay extra. It was like $5 for the pretzel, like $6 for the, wings. But I mean, it's still super cheap. And I mean, it was great. It was bar food. It was like going to B-Dubs or something, but better. And there was like a trivia going on while we were in there. So we played trivia. There was sports on the TVs. I mean, I died and go to heaven.
So I thought that was like a Disney Cruise Line thing, like for the pubs to have where you can buy extra stuff, like the bar food kind of stuff. The same thing was on the Royal ship I was on, the pub, you could buy the burger and the pretzel and all that. I'm like, man, maybe this is like a cruise line industry thing. You got to have a pub and you got to have some extras.
Maybe. Yeah.
But I love that idea. It's so nice because it gives you a break from all the other food, especially 10 nights, right? You don't want to have cabanas for lunch all the time, right? I love that idea, Mike.
Well, and it's weird because I don't know what it was. Maybe I had just a mindset change this time. I was 100% dead set against spending any extra money for food until this cruise. And then I was like, dude, I'm paying all this money for this cruise, right?
You already prepaid so much money. What's a little extra,
exactly.
Right?
It's a 7-night cruise for my family. I've paid like $10,000 at this point. Am I going to balk at $30 for a pretzel, some wings, and my wife to have a beer? You know what I'm saying? This is my food. It's like chips and guac and salsa and cheese. And this is a perfect afternoon for us to have a fun lunch, watch sports, play trivia. What am I know I could go up to Cabanas and get free food. Get the food that's included.
And then you could take it back down there even. Probably.
I could, but I mean, why, you're in there, it's you could never have a drink too, the drinks aren't included, but I mean, it's the overall cruise experience. I wanted to try it, and we never regret it. We said this was when we were done, we're like, oh my gosh, it was the best lunch ever. I mean, it was just all apps, but we're like, oh, it was so fun. The pretzel was great with this beer kind of mustard kind of dip. Oh, so good. I could kill for one right now. I'd kill to be in O'Gills.
I can't wait to hear more stories about this.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that Friday.
Next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do that. So we're going to get out of here for listener questions, but you have a question, email it to us, Mike@BRGuestPodcast.com. We'll get that on the show next week. But better yet, join us around 5:30 Eastern, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, and be a part of the show. Drop your question in, and you'll be right there with us on the podcast. Don't forget, the show is always brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney vacation. Just swing by the website today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That really does help us out. That one extra click, bam, you're right back to Amazon. It supports the show. BeOurGuestPodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys make the shows possible, so thank you so very much for that. When you do that, just $5 a month, you get a bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. So come on over this week, patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast. Give Scotty G a follow on the socials because he is getting must-see adventures rolling for you. He's going to take you out to sea. He's going to take you to Norway. He's going to show you fjords. He's going to show you he's going to have a counter for the Sorrento's pizza slices that he destroyed on the ship. And we're going to have to do an over-under before he publishes or something. We're going to have some kind of
I'll put a poll on the Discord.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly. I couldn't think of the word. We're going to have to do that. Only he knows. I have ideas, but I don't even know. So we'll do that. But check out Must See Adventures on YouTube so you're ready for that. Subscribe to that and check them out. Epscott, EPSCOT on all the socials. Ricky's got a DisneyWorldAfterAll.com, so make sure you check that out. And she's Ricky Nibs on all the socials, so make sure you're following her for all her updates. And I'm at Be Our Guest Mike on all the socials, so give me a follow. And most importantly, come over to the clubhouse. We have a great time. Over 1,000 of our listeners are there. It's like our cheers. Everybody knows your name. We hang out 24/7. People drop in, drop out, but people are there live all the time to chat with in real time. And just help. It's really what it is too. It's like a 24/7 listener question show. People have a question, they post it there, and honestly, there's an answer usually within 10 minutes. So you don't have to wait a week. It's just bam, somebody's got a better answer that we can give you most of the time too. So come on over. It's beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. We'll see you today. All right, we are going to be back on Friday. I'm talking about my cruise. Lots to talk about. Guess what? Paige missed the boat. Oh, dude, right there. Gotcha. We're going to talk about it on Friday, so come on back and hear the story. So for Scott and Ricky, I'm Mike. We'll see you on Friday. So until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.
You've been listening to the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. If you have questions, comments, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at beourguestpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon.